before we dive into classic strategy and the theory behind that strategy, I want to talk about something just as important as things like mapping a marketing ecosystem, branding, or even target demographics. In a content-saturated world where competitors are endless and we're so likely to just scroll past what doesn't capture attention, stop selling. Seriously, knock it off. But hear me out. It might sound like terrible advice, but as consumers, the world around us has changed. Businesses need to recognize this and roll with a new approach. When you stop selling and start sharing, people start paying attention. So today's focus, we're going to learn to market through story, not sales tactics. This is a facet of strategy that blends both personal and business strategy, and that's part of why we're talking through this first. So today we're going to look at why storytelling is more effective than traditional sales. We're going to look at how to uncover your unique value and voice, and how to use story as a marketing tool that feels good. In a world that's oversaturated with clickbait, cold calls, junky sales tactics, selling first is a fast track to being ignored. Think about what you ignore these days when you're on popular platforms, and what grabs your attention. Storytelling grabs attention and it builds connection. Connection builds trust. Trust builds sales. When you lead with value and authenticity, people want to follow you and buy from you. So let's talk about this. Bring a mindset of curiosity, creativity, and a willingness to share more of your voice. Let's flip the sales script. Your story is your superpower. So today, you are here, step 4 of the Ember method, take inspired action. Telling your story is inspired action. It's how you bring your unique energy, value, and voice to the world and invite others into your orbit. So today's FirePoint challenges, I want you to watch through the module. We've got some questions for you at the end of the module. And our social post today, I want you to pick a past sales post or an about section maybe from your website and rewrite it framed as a story. Then create an actual post to tell that story, post it, and tag Rose Ember Foundry. Don't forget hashtag stories not selling. Here's the truth. Nobody wants to be sold to, but everyone loves a good story. Your brand doesn't need to shout, scare, or exaggerate. It needs to resonate. It needs to mean something. So what does that look like? I want you to start here. First of all, write down this sentence. The value I provide to my customers is. Then add, the personality I add to that value is. And then combine both of those into a bold, honest value proposition. Pause the video now and work through this. This exercise is your first step into storytelling and authenticity. Authenticity is essential because people can feel the difference. You know when something feels fake, and fake gives us little reason to trust, connect, or relate. Authenticity creates connection. When your story is real, human, and a little imperfect, your audience leans in, not because they're being sold to, but because they see themselves in it. Storytelling isn't about convincing, it's about relating. It builds trust by showing and not telling. And when you're authentic, that trust runs deeper than any sales pitch ever could. So in a world full of noise, authenticity cuts through. It makes you a friend to follow, a voice to listen to, and someone they can buy from or hire because you've established trust and connection. And that's why authenticity isn't just a nice to have, it's the heart of powerful, lasting storytelling. So let's look at the key elements of storytelling in marketing. First of all, we have the hero. This must be your customer. Your customer is the main character, not you. The story has to relate in some way to their journey, challenges, desires, or the transformation they're undergoing. So ask, how do they relate to this narrative? Number 2, you have to have a problem or a challenge. Every great story includes a conflict. Include a problem or challenge your customer is facing, make it relatable and real. This can be as simple as a get to know us narrative for an awareness campaign, the problem being your customers don't know you yet. You also need the guide, and that is you. You're not the hero, you're the guide. You bring insight, tools, or support that helps them overcome the challenge. You have purpose as well, and that can translate in terms of personality. Then we have the journey. Show the transformation, paint the before and after. Think in terms of problem, to problem solved and show the transition. You also have to include emotion. Facts tell, but feelings sell. Connect on a human level, use language, tone, and imagery that evokes real emotion, which takes us straight into authenticity. Real stories build real trust. Keep it grounded, honest, and true to your brand voice. And then, of course, a clear message. Every story needs a point and a takeaway. So what do you want your audience to feel, believe, or do next? Are you telling a story with an action tied to it? Any good campaign will always include a CTA, or call to action. Now, I want you to think about applying storytelling at the campaign level and letting that filter down. When done well, marketing storytelling doesn't just describe an offer, it makes people care about it. But the key here is to start using storytelling at the high campaign level and translate aspects of the story through micro moments, individual posts, emails, web content, and blogs, and so on. So tell a story at that big campaign level and then filter that down to content. At this point, you end up with highly consistent brand campaigns and not too many micro campaigns. This will all make a little more sense when we get to the skills section, but let's look at how this translates to storytelling in social posts for content marketing. So here's how storytelling shifts in content marketing. In social or content marketing, the core storytelling elements really stay the same, but content uses them in smaller, faster, more conversational ways. So it's the same storytelling elements, just a different delivery. We focus on micro moments, not full epics. You're telling pieces of the story over time, posts, reels, captions, comments, not one long narrative. Each bit should show a challenge, a voice, a feeling, or a transformation. The tone needs to be relatable and real too. Authenticity is even more important on social. People scroll past polished ads, but they stop for real stories and honest insight. The hero is still your audience, so even a behind-the-scenes post should point back to how you serve or relate to your community. Social content that performs well is never just about you, it's a mirror for your audience. And remember that emotion drives engagement. On social, emotion is like inspiration. Humor, relief, curiosity, and even frustration fuels shares and saves. So storytelling that sparks a feeling equals content that performs. And think in terms of clarity and simplicity. You have seconds to hook someone. Your message still needs to have a point, but it has to land fast. So is storytelling personal strategy or business strategy? Really, it's both. And the fun part is applying both together. It's the bridge between the two. Personal storytelling fuels authenticity, and business strategic storytelling drives results through structure. Together, they create a brand that's not only memorable, but magnetic. So what does this mean in terms of practical applications? Business strategy, use those structures we just mentioned to craft stories. Allow them to shape your marketing, your messaging, your customer journey, and turn offers into experiences. On the personal strategy side, be prepared to show you. Your story is your personal brand. It's how people remember you. Storytelling is how you clarify your voice and your values and your purpose. So it helps you process your journey, own your expertise, and show up as a real, relatable human. This builds trust and confidence in both yourself and your audience. It's how you show up, and it's how you represent what drives you. So let's look at an example of storytelling that builds trust. And this is a real-world web designer's example from yours truly. I had a wellness coach come to me for a website, and she didn't say, I need bold branding or SEO optimization. She said, I've been burned before. I just want someone I can trust. That stopped me because in a saturated industry full of flashy designs, empty promises, trust is not built with buzzwords. It's earned through story clarity and consistency. So I didn't start with colors or code for her. I started by positioning myself as a guide, someone who deeply understands how design psychology, layout hierarchy, and user experience quietly earn credibility on every page. I explained why white space matters, why font choices influence emotion, why clarity always converts better than cleverness. And then I did something most designers skip. I just showed up. Not in the contracts and the mock-ups, but in the story I was telling about myself, my values, and my process. I built an entire content campaign around the theme of building trust through design and used every platform to tell that story. So I used behind the scenes videos of the design process, before and after shots with insight into strategic choices. I created small and honest posts about why I care about empowering clients, not just delivering files. And I created an email series breaking down common website mistakes and how to fix them. I also used portfolio case studies that showed real results, not just pretty screenshots. So there was no hard sell, no ego, just value, voice, and visibility. So these were micro moments that proved what I believed and who I was. In the end, the client said, "I hired you because I trusted you before we even spoke." That's the power of storytelling. It's not about sounding impressive, it's about showing up authentically, consistently, and strategically, so your audience knows this person gets it, this person gets me. And that's how design becomes more than visuals. It becomes a bridge to trust. So one final practical reminder. At the end of the day, we just need to be thinking in terms of the story potential and how do we avoid the sales pitch and share a story instead. Start with that problem or the client, share your value or expertise, and then add flavor, humor, warmth, honesty, insight. Make your audience the hero, show how your story connects to their journey, and then weave one story through the bigger campaign, but also those posts, blogs, emails, everything associated with it. Remember, selling is shouting. Storytelling is showing. Show up with value and let the story do the work. So before I wrap up here, I want to introduce the module skill set questions, which are now included in each module and are a part of your FirePoint challenge. So remember, they're designed to help you get the most from this lesson and apply it to the real world and your business. So don't look at it like it's homework. Look at it as an extra piece of value you can get from the course. So make sure you finish these before you move on to the next module. So our activities and resources today include the book Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller and podcast Marketing Made Human. In the vault, we have From Pitch to Personality, a storytelling worksheet, and we also have the Marketing Essentials Guide, which is great to reference as you're going through the storytelling module. Our real world activities include a writing prompt. I want you to transform a sales pitch into a story. Think about a product, service, or an offer you've promoted recently and then reframe it as a story with that challenge built in, or a real customer success, or a funny or human moment from behind the scenes. And then apply this material to your business this week. Go review one of your own past sales posts or even a website bio. Identify where it looks salesy and then rewrite it using value, story, and personality. For our FirePoint challenge, quick reminder, you'll complete the module, then I want you to answer the questions at the end of this module. Those are your skill set questions, and they do count now to your FirePoint challenge. And then number 3 is our social post. I want you to pick a past sales post or your about section and rewrite it, framed as a story. Then create that actual post to tell the story and tag Rose Ember Foundry with hashtag stories not selling. So remember, when you express yourself with authenticity and creativity, you attract aligned clients who truly get you. Storytelling is the way to shift away from selling and build a community based on a stronger connection and who you actually are. So today we looked at why storytelling outperforms sales in today's digital landscape, how to uncover and articulate your value and your voice, and the essential elements to include in storytelling. We looked at how to reframe your offers as compelling narratives, the campaign level and through micro moments like individual posts. So let's connect, let's get creative, and let's lean into storytelling.